Hello everyone, welcome to another G1 Transformers review. As you can see, I'm doing yet another Pretender figure. Now this is of course Bombburst from the G1 Transformer line. He's a Decepticon Pretender. Obviously modelled along sort of like the monster bat type creature. Quite a good figure. One of the first wave of Pretender figures, so one of the larger ones. Came with quite a few sort of little bits and bobs. I won't take some of them off because it's just the fact that they become a little bit delicate as they become older, so it's better to leave them on. First of which is his belt, which is quite a nice rubber moulded piece of sort of accessory. I'll take the guns off, I'll show you those in a second. Now the belts all clip on the first run of Pretenders onto the little side clips like there and there. Now that does make them a little bit delicate, that these clip parts on the rubber can break. So again, that is why, unless you have to, some of the others do require you to take the belt off to actually remove the inner robot of the Pretender, but in this instance you don't need to, so it's better to leave it on. Other accessories which are removable, which I don't usually bother with, are these shoulder pieces here, which again are similar sort of rubberized sort of plastic, and they're made to mimic the back part, but they are actually separate halves. Although, to be quite honest, they could have moulded that in one piece, simply for the fact that the arm in itself is movable at the shoulder, so that could have all been moulded in one piece. Not quite sure why they did that, but as I say, these are removable. These are probably the more common piece you see missing from this guy if he's for sale, and as such is also the axe weapon that he comes with. This is more just for the Pretender half of the Transformer. Again, a more rubberized sort of plastic, as you can see, you can bend it without any real harm coming to it. Quite nicely moulded, and again quite a nasty looking weapon. But yeah, sort of unique again to Bombburst, and one of the things again what is often missing. Belt probably less so, because you don't have to actually take it off to transform him. In this instance the belt is usually probably with the figure. But as you can see, he's got quite a lot of nice moulded in detail and paint apps, including the really nice paintwork on the chest, which is almost like a metallic red. You get a bit of burgundy on the arms. Lots of other detailing, such as the blue in the ears and the gold on the eyes and the mouth. And generally speaking, you know, it's a really nicely done figure. On the back is a little bit plainer. They could have picked out some of this backpack section with some more colour, which would have made the back a little bit more jazzy, but you know, there's lots of nice little details, like little spikes on the legs. And again, they could have picked out just the claws on the feet, but you know, it wasn't bad for its time. And again, they did paint in all these sections. These aren't separate sort of rubber parts, these are actually painted on. So yeah, not bad at all for the actual Pretender shell, one of the better ones. Now getting to the weapons. Now obviously I've shown you the axe, which just clips into his hand. Now Bombburst came with two weapons. Now these are actually identical. I did originally think they were perhaps right and left, but they are actually identical and can be held in the Pretender sense with these larger pegs, and by the inner robot with the smaller pegs. So you've got to watch, if you are picking these up, that they've got both pegs on the weapons, and because of the small holes that you've got on the sides there, you can link peg to hole on the weapons, and you could either have it that way up or that way up, which is my preferred way, to actually link the weapons together to use them in one hand as a blaster. If you were short of the axe, you could separate them and put one in each hand, so not entirely how should I put it, not entirely sort of like necessary to have the axe. It's lovely if you do, because it completes the figure, but if you are short of this part, you can at least display the figure and still make him look pretty good, because you can have a blaster in each hand anyway. But anyway, getting to the actual transformer part of this Pretender. As with all the Pretenders, you just split open the two halves of the shell, which are held together with little pegs and holes, and you find inside a Pretender robot. Now, if I just pop the shell back together, like so, they just go together with a nice reassuring click, and that's him. Pretty much he can be left on his own, and again, as in with the old Marvel comics and that, was probably the more common side of him that you actually saw fight in the Autobots anyway. They tended to focus more on the Pretender characters rather than the actual robot characters. Strange sort of way when you think about it, because really it was the robot which is actually Bombburst. So yeah, the Pretender shell is really only an outer shell that's sort of mentally linked and under the control of the Pretender itself. So yeah, but mind you, when you see what the robot's like, you'll probably see that the actual shell has got the more character out of these figures. Anyway, enough of me waffling. Let's get into the figure. Now this is how you put him in when he's in his, how should you put it, pretending role, when he's actually inside the shell. Not that great. There's plenty of detail moulded in here and there, like a cockpit screen painted in, but again it's pretty obvious where the robot side of it is, and that's the side I'll show first. To basically get into robot mode from the shell, you just flip the arms out to the side and flip the toes up, and that's him. Now articulation, you've got waist articulation, which is very tight, even sort of today, sort of even with the age of it, at the hip. Strangely there is at the knee, but it's the wrong way. So if they had actually done a waist swivel, you could have actually turned it around so you could have actually bent his knees the right way. And obviously there's shoulder movement, but nothing at the elbow, and obviously due to the transformation you bring the arms in a little bit like so, but there's a lot of point to that. The head does revolve as well at set sort of lock-in positions, but again it's not actually even important for the transformation, so that is purely just there for articulation. I'll give you a little look and a close-up of him. Not a bad sculpt, and in itself quite a basic figure, but not bad, you know. There's some detail moulded in here and there, but yeah, not the greatest of Transformers, let's put it that way. Now to actually utilise these weapons with him, as you'll notice he's got solid hands, so you can't hold the guns in the conventional way. So you use the smaller pegs on these side holes on his arms, and they both peg in, like I say, exactly the same. And that's to some extent why the guns have got to be the same, because they peg in exactly in the same position. And that pretty much gives you the figure. Now it's not bad, and again you can lift his arms up so you can point his weapons, a little bit like a Seeker in that way. But yeah, generally speaking not too bad, but not great. Now of course, as with any Transformer, you can transform, and that is quite basic. Now first of all, you fold up the toes towards the back like so. You then swing the legs forward a little bit at the knee, and then swing them right over, which then gets you into this sort of position. Now what you need to do then is swing the arm backwards, so it's like he's putting his hands up over his head like so, and then revolve the guns round towards the front. And then the last little bit is just on the back of the head here. You see this little grey part, you just need to flick that up to expose like a little tail section, and it becomes a kind of hover jet, sort of drone kind of weapon. I'll leave that to your imagination. It's obviously loosely based on some kind of jet mode, and basically a Cybertronian mode, because obviously it doesn't actually resemble any real vehicle as such. And that's actually Bombburst done. Quite basic, as I say. The best side of it and the most character is actually in the Pretender shell. Being that it is the first wave ones, is a bigger figure, and in that sense also a better figure. You do get a little bit more for your money. If I bring in another figure that I've used before for size comparisons, if you put in say a Prime Deluxe figure next to him, you can see, you know, he's bigger than Deluxe. Even the Inner Robot is actually taller than the Deluxe as well. So not a bad size figure. You know, you're talking more Voyager size in comparison to a modern figure anyway. But yeah, so that is G1 Bombburst. Not as commonly seen obviously in the G1 cartoons, as he came in into the later Japanese storylines. Such a shame, because it would have been really nice to have seen these guys in the Western cartoon, because I'm sure they would have really had some decent storylines for them. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this look at another one of the first wave Pretenders. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again for some more Transformers reviews.